Let's talk about Meta, stock symbol META, and the incredible euphoric rise that it's been on over the last 16 trading sessions. In fact, if it goes until the end of this week without a single down day, it'll have made it an entire month without one single red candle. This is already the best streak at 16 days that any Mag 7 has ever had. Absolutely incredible run, doing so on incredibly high volume as well. Now, I would never, ever get into this stock at this point in time. In fact, I think it's completely crazy. Doesn't mean that it necessarily has to sell off tomorrow. No. And at some point, I would, if I had to guess, I would say that it's going to have a red candle at some point. The odds are that's going to happen. And if it happens this week, do I necessarily think that it's worth loading on puts or to get heavily short on the stock? No, because more than likely, and what I've seen from in the past when the stock goes on an incredible run like this, is that it ends with a whimper, not with a big bang. So I don't expect it necessarily to go from like 717 all the way down to like 650. Far from it. It'll probably just like close the day down like 0.1 or 0.2%. And then maybe it goes on another streak of 2 or 3 days. But in the end, I don't necessarily think just because it's up 16 days that puts are the play here. People are saying, well, if you think it's going to go down, why don't you short it? And that's not what I'm looking for. When I short something, it's because reward-risk ratio is greatly in my favor and requires that I should get into it based off of my trading strategy. This doesn't follow along those lines. So one of the things that we could talk about here is this rising trend line. It's an incredible rising trend line. It goes all the way back to July of this past year, and it has held it every single time it's tested it. Now, we can go back, though, and look at one particular time, and this is very important that we talk about this, is that there was a nice rising parallel channel, and everything looked fine. You could play it off of the bounce of this parallel channel and make a few bucks every time. But then you had this break right here, and you thought that, okay, this is starting to look like a nasty topping pattern. But oftentimes when you get these topping patterns in place like this, what you end up getting is a false breakdown, especially if it's in a bull market. And so right here, we got the false breakdown, and then it came rallying right back up. So not only did it rally right back up, but then it formed this continuation triangle pattern. And then from there, that's where we got that incredible run to the upside. But here's what's important. This rising channel band, the lower channel band from the July lows, that went away. But what also formed was this much bigger trend line that goes way back. And you could draw this trend line going all the way back to October of last year. It's been very strong and very well in place. Now, there's been a couple of breaches along the way. Sure, you had a one breach right here, and then you had a breach intraday, but it managed to finish above it into the close. At some point, there's probably going to be a pullback. And this pullback's probably going to pull it right back to this rising trend line. You have this one, or you have the one that's a little bit in a shorter term time frame where it goes right down to here from the July lows. And that also could be a trend line that's in play. But what's never really changed is this resistance overhead, and it's testing it now, and it's struggling with it at this point in time. So this resistance is in play. It's not breaching above it. It's tested it a couple of times here, and it's very vulnerable to a pullback at this point in time. Now, when the streak does end, I don't know how it'll end. Nobody does. My guess is that it'll probably be with a whimper, not a bang. And then at some point there will be a pullback, and that pullback will probably bring us back down to this rising trend line. And that's the place that I would be willing to play Meta at this phase of this stock's journey. I would not find any other scenario at this point to buy it. That doesn't mean that that one cannot develop, but it hasn't developed enough for me to be able to see it and to be able to play it. If you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below, how long do you think this Meta rally is going to last? Let me know in the comments. Thank you, and God bless.